In this video, I'm going to talk about a new type of lookup function called Xlookup. This function is new to Excel 2019 and beyond, and the benefit of it is that it's meant to improve upon some of the shortcomings of the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions. First, one of the problems with VLOOKUP is that it works from left to right. So in order to get the function to work, your lookup value must be located in the first column of the lookup table. As an example, if you wanted to look up any information on grades for a specific student ID, the student ID must be located in the first column of your selection in the table, otherwise the lookup function will not work. That can be an easy step to forget and can cause issues and errors. Also, you need to specify the return value that you want using an index from the lookup table. So for example, if I go back to my grades example, if I want to look up the final grade for the student ID, I need to count where that final grade is located in column 8 and give that to the Excel function. The problem is, what if somebody deletes columns or adds new ones? Then the final grade won't be in column 8 anymore, and that can again cause errors with your formula. Also, VLOOKUP only works for vertical searches. You have to use a whole other function called HLOOKUP if you want to do a horizontal search. Finally, by default, VLOOKUP always provides an approximate match. If you want an exact match only, like for student IDs that have to be unique, you have to actually change range lookup to false, which means you can only get an exact match. This can also lead to errors, or not what you expect, if you miss this setting. To solve some of these problems, Excel decided to create a new function called Xlookup. This function actually uses fewer arguments, so there's actually only 3 things you need to input, and it can search in either direction. So Xlookup is a new Excel function that still is a lookup function, so it searches a range for a match and gives you back the value you wanted, but it can work horizontally or vertically, provides an exact match by default, and is just all around a bit easier to use. We still learn VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP because they can be used in any version of Excel and they're still used very commonly, but if you're using the newest version of Excel, Xlookup is a very, very good alternative if you have the newest version. And we will see how you can use this function and some of the benefits of using it. First, when using Xlookup, you simply need to select your lookup value as the first argument inside of the function. So if I want to search for this student ID, in the grades table, I select the student ID first. The second thing you need to pick is your lookup array. This is what makes the function so flexible. Instead of having to have it organized in this very specific tabular format, you can choose where the student numbers are located as this lookup array selection. So my student numbers are here in the first column, so that's what I'd select for my lookup array. Next, you have your return array. In this case, if I want to return the final grade, I just select where the final grades are located. Because the two selections are separate, that you have to select your lookup array and return array separately, you don't need an index number and you won't have that problem with the columns being in order from left to right, or a problem with having to insert or a problem when columns are inserted or deleted. All the other arguments are optional in Xlookup. Those are just if you need exact matches or certain returns when a match is not found. So this student received an 86.6 as their final grade. Another great thing about Xlookup is it can actually return more than one value at a time. VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP cannot do this. So for example, if I have this student ID again, and I wanted to return both their last and first name to get their full name, I can start right here with Xlookup, select my lookup value, which is the student ID. Where do I find the student ID is what comes next. Here is where the student IDs are located. And if I want 2 things back, first name and last name, I just select both of those columns. Notice that we're not just in column B, it's B all the way to C. Press enter and I get returned values that were located in both columns B and C, the full name, Antonigo, of the student. Finally, just to demonstrate that the order of the columns is not of particular importance with the Xlookup function, we can do an example where we start with a value for the grade and find the student number of the person who got that value. So first, let's say I want to find the minimum grade in the class, so I can reach out to that person to give them some more assistance. First, I would find the minimum grade using the min function, and then I can actually work backwards. If I start with my Xlookup function, I can say look up this minimum grade value. Where do we find the minimum overall grades? Right here in the final grade column. What do I want to return? This time I want to return the student ID. Again, the point of doing this example is to show you that the value you're looking up does not have to be in the first column of the table. Here it's actually the last column of the table, but because we select the return array and the lookup array separately, this function can handle columns that aren't in any particular order. So press enter and I get the student ID of the student with the lowest grade, which is this ID, and they were August Cousteau for the lowest grade. And that is a demonstration of how you use the Xlookup function, which is an improvement over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP for its flexibility and functionality.